Hello, we are live. Born Now's live stream. I'm going to be doing a special watch of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Season 1, Episode 3 Witch. So it will be my latest review of Buffy as I slowly make my way through. And I should be having someone join me soon. Hopefully there'll be more of you. You can join in. If not, it doesn't matter. I'll just watch along and make comments. And that'll be the review, and gonna talk about general sort of stuff, the channel and what have you. And I recently put up my first Jessica Jones review. I did a double bill of season 3, which was put up last week on Netflix, the final season. So I reviewed the first and second episodes of that. There's a review up there, so I won't say too much about it because you can check that out. But yeah, pretty impressed so far. I think it's been a solid start to the season, and I'm quite intrigued by it. There seems to be more focus than the start of last season. So far, yeah, I'm quite encouraged, and I'll try and get more reviews up of that soon. And I also did a review of the first episode of Tales of the City, the Netflix revival of the 90s miniseries, so you can check out that video also. So thank you very much for the new subscribers. The channel is now up to 51 subscribers. And so that's good progress. So thank you for all the new subscribers and the old ones, and thank you for the comments and contributions so far. Things shaping up quite nicely. Also, I watched The Handmaid's Tale tonight, the latest episode of season 3. Anyone want to comment on that can do. So far, I think it's been a good start to that season. I know there were some issues with season 2 for some people, but mostly that was a good season. Just a bit of a drop from season 1, and some plot issues, some concerns that it might get a bit repetitive, or it might not progress too much on what's been set up. But so far, season 3 has been really good. I really like the episode tonight. And so, pretty strong start for the new Handmaid's Tale as well, season 3. It's always interesting with that sort of thing, how far they're going to go with it and how they're going to progress the story and characters. But so far, they're doing a really good job, I think, in this current season. So yeah, we can talk about anything as well as watching the Buffy episode. And that's sort of the plan tonight. Of course, no need to talk about politics because it's all pretty depressing and grim at the moment. Here in the UK, with who we're about to have as our new Prime Minister. Less said on that, the better. It's all pretty grim, really. Then we're going in that direction, and yeah, unless we can push for a general election or unless something else happens, it's not a lot we can do about it at the moment. But there you have it. We won't say much more on politics for tonight. I think we all have other videos to discuss that. And going to be starting the Buffy episode soon. Just give people a few more minutes to see if anyone wants to join in. So just to catch people up, this will be episode 3. This is the Witch, which I suppose is the first standalone, the first sort of Monster of the Week episode of the series, because of course the first two episodes were kind of a two-parter in a way, not completely, but they were set up that way, and there was a continuing plot over them. So this is the first sort of Monster of the Week standalone type episode, And it's an interesting episode for the simple reason it's the first time magic is introduced into the Buffyverse. And I guess it's surprising in a way for people who haven't seen the show or maybe don't know much about what happens. But magic becomes a big part of the Buffyverse actually over its run, with one character in particular. So it's interesting to rewatch this very early episode where magic is first introduced and is a major part of the plot. You also have the debut of a character called Amy, who sort of potentially could have become part of the gang, part of the Scoobies, but that never happened. When this is for a while her only appearance, but she does reappear again in season 3 and then is kind of on and off, but she does make a few appearances over the course, played by Elizabeth Allen, who I think does a good job in the role. And I think I mean, we're going to watch it, but I think it's a solid enough episode for a first season episode. The first season, of course, not being the best of seasons. But I think, I think its limitations are how cheesy it is and bits. I think the show had a very low budget at this point, and that really shows on some of the effects. They look particularly bad. But the story itself is fine. It's pretty standard. I think it, again, sort of leads into, connects to the big theme of the early season, the first season, which is to do with bullying. Or that's one of the themes anyway. And there's some pretty solid high school stuff going on and drama. And yeah, there's some good fun as well, some funny lines and good jokes. So it's overall, I think it's a solid episode. It is one of the ones that has dated quite a lot. And I think there are better episodes in this first season, but there's certainly worse as well. I mean, there's 2 or 3 real sort of stinkers in season 1, and this isn't one of them. This is a solid sort of 6 out of 10 at least, I'd say. So, anyone want to say anything? Anyone here? Hi, Cookie. Took you a while to comment. How are you? I'm using your cup for my hot chocolate. I decided to use it since I knew you were going to be on. How has your day been? Yeah, 51 subscribers, as I said, so I'm pretty pleased. It jumped up during the week from 49 to 51, so pretty good going, so I'm quite happy with that. That's good. Good. Well, as I was saying, I'll get into the episode soon. I've got it paused at the beginning. I'll just wait a bit longer in case anyone comes along and wants to watch the episode with me. Watching Buffy season 1, episode 3 called Witch, which is a smart double meaning title because there's witches in the question word use of the word, but there's also witch as in witches, and that's the key because it's a witch storyline in this, the introduction of magic into the Buffyverse. Anything done anything good on your day off? Okay. Good stuff. Yeah, I've just been hanging out really. Been watching the Football World Cup. I know you don't follow it, but sadly another heavy defeat for your home country tonight, or today I should say. They're ranking. Yeah, yeah, I need to have a shave actually, but yeah, sometimes it's exhausting shaving, but there you have it. So everything okay with you? How's it going? Okay, just give me a minute, I'll get some nuts. You ever seen an episode of Buffy Cookie? I think you already know it's one of my favourite shows. Okay, yeah, yeah, you definitely have to watch it. It takes a bit of getting into, but what's too old? The show? That's nonsense. It's a classic show, one of the best ever, which you will hear from my reviews. Okay, I think I'll make a start on it, and if anyone comes and wants to watch along, they can always catch up. So I'll just unpause it and we can make a start. And I mean, I can obviously try and sell you on it.
This is madness. What can you have been thinking? You are the Slayer. Lives depend upon you. I make allowances for your youth, but I expect a certain amount of responsibility.
The classic Sunnydale High Library, one of the great sets of the 90s. And one of my favourite opening jokes ever.
I told you I'm trying out for the cheerleading squad.
Giles describes Buffy wanting to be a cheerleader as joining a cult.
And you'll be stopping me how?
But by appealing to your common sense, if such a creature exists.
I will still have time to fight the forces of evil, okay? I just want to have a life. I want to do something normal. Something safe.
They have such great chemistry from the beginning, such great father-daughter chemistry, and yeah, you can see Buffy really having fun, really torturing Giles there. But sort of a classic father and daughter sort of bond, because of course Buffy is estranged from her own father. And a cool setup of the cauldron there. So retro. There should be more cauldrons in shows. Even nowadays, you can't beat a good cauldron.
I'd say you should get a girlfriend if you wasn't so old. But we're behind you.
People scoff at things like school spirit, but these girls give it all like this. Ooh, stretchy. Where was I?
You're pretending that seeing scantily clad girls who were living postures was a spiritual experience.
So I was pretending. Oh, hey, here's a good luck thing for tryouts.
What's this? What's that? Well, how sweet. Yours, always.
It came that way, really. They all said that.
Just look at that.
The bracelet from Xander.
Girl, I heard she turned them down.
A little creepy there, but a nice little joke with the message on there.
Amy. Hi.
And the first appearance of Amy, as we said, Elizabeth Allen, who's trying out for cheerleading as well as Buffy. And Cordelia, of course.
She's your grandson. He's one of the best coaches right than I. The cheerleading coaches? Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I train with my mom 3 hours in the morning, 3 at night. That much quality time with my mom would probably need some quality matricide. I know, totally. She's really great.
Elizabeth Allen makes an impressive debut.
That girl's on fire! Enough for the hyperbole.
No, Cordy, she's literally on fire.
It's okay, you're gonna be okay.
Dun dun dun. Well, that's far from the worst effect you'll see in the episode. And the iconic Buffy opening titles. One of my favourite in history, and we get another shot at the cauldron. It's a cool little touch, the fact that they have the cauldron in these early episode credits. And also they have Amy Munn's scream and the sort of flash effect at Buffy, which happens in this episode. That's a cool touch.
I've been slaying vampires for more than a year now, and I have seen some pretty cringeworthy things, but his hands ever got toasted before.
Imagine not.
So, this isn't a vampire planet.
No,
But it is funky, right? Not the norm.
quite. Spontaneous human combustion is rare and scientifically unexplainable. Every case is completely good. It's just a pile of action.
That's all that would have been left if they hadn't been for Buffy.
There's no idea what caused this. That's a comfort. That's the thrill of living with the combat. Down to a cornucopia of fiends and devils and ghouls to look at. Need to find a glass half full.
Any common denominators in cases of spontaneous combustion?
Giles enjoying his job way too much as usual.
Was terribly angry or upset. Smitty Amber's got this power to make itself be on fire. It's like the human torch, only it hurts.
I need to get this skinny on Amber. Find out if she's had any colored episodes before. That means hacking and rebooting into the school's computer system.
Written by Dana Rister. I think first and only time credit.
Are we a team?
Yeah, you're the Slayer and we're like the Slayerettes. Just don't like putting you guys in danger.
The Slayerettes, great line from Willow.
Okay, just walk softly, listen to it a little more. I mean, what if Amber isn't causing these problems herself?
Then we have to determine who or what did. And deal with it accordingly.
Hey, hi, how was school? I remember joy. What's on this? It's for the tribal art display. Oh. We had tryouts today. Oh, great. How'd it go? I didn't actually get a tryout. There was an accident. Pretty fierce competition. Oh, I know you'll do fine. Keep on plugging, just have to get back on the horse. Mom? Yeah? What's he trying out for? Oh, some activity? I have no idea. I'm sorry. The attitudes are good for all occasions.
Always enjoy these early scenes between Buffy and her mother.
It's like Ellery's first nature show. You know, it might not physically kill you. Give me a hand here.
Joyce trying to open the crate is just charming and delightful.
I'm glad you're taking that up again. It'll keep you out of
And of
trouble.
course Buffy uses her strength,
No, not you.
which Joyce is unaware of.
I mean, you stopped cheerleading just before the COVID, so it's good you're coming back. What? Fertility's got you. You don't need to see it. You know, there's this girl Amy and
I think
she changes her
this
mind
is a
about
fitting kind of
Sounds like her mom's putting into it.
sort of
Sounds
plot for Buffy this early, the fact she wants to return to something as normal as cheerleading. Whereas as she grows over the seasons, I think, she moves beyond that sort of thing. And it's sort of interesting. This season deals with that, and it does it quite well. The fact that, in a later episode, she's also trying to date normal boys and have a normal life. Hello, Howard Sky. How are you? Classic cheesy 90s cheer.
That's my mom.
Yeah, so I think there's a nice little arc in it, the fact that Buffy tries cheerleading, tries to return to what she knows as a normal life. And yeah, because of the way things go in this episode, it's kind of a lesson for her. So it's like a moral lesson, and it kind of helps her to grow up a bit, or then, yeah, it's that idea of, don't go back sort of thing.
She put herself through cosmetology school. Taught me everything I
It
learned.
is a shame, Howard's, but it's good character growth as well. And the more I watch the later seasons, the better they get, actually. I think there's a lot of good stuff in the later seasons. I wasn't so keen on them when I first watched it, but they really do grow on you the later seasons. I think on my last rewatch, when I did a full rewatch not too long ago, season 5 is actually now my favourite season. No, I disagree. I don't think she becomes less likeable. I just think she grows up a bit more, and I think she's more complex. And I think a lot of dark stuff happens to Buffy over the course of the show, so I think it's understandable then she goes to the dark side, or she goes through changes, and yeah. Well, no, I'm not saying she has to be depressed to grow. I'm just saying it's a coming of age show, so it's the realities of life. You have to deal with dark things, you have to deal with hardships, and yeah, I think it is part of the character growth and the show experimenting with different things. Season 3 is very good. I really like season 3. I think in terms of just so many great episodes, it's maybe the most consistent.
I'm sorry. If you were supreme cleanliness on Thursday, takes me out of the running.
And Mayor's really good as Big Bad. Faith is a really good character. Season 3 is really good. I mean, there's sort of a couple of, I don't know if I say they're terrible episodes. There's a couple of weaker episodes in season 3, but it is very good. I mean, I think I'd probably say with season 5, the storytelling is better overall with season 5, and there's some great standalone episodes too, and Glory's another great big bag. So 5's one of those actually. Before I wouldn't have said it's one of my favourite seasons, but now I'm really on board with it and think might be my favourite season. I think 3 would be second. 2's very close. I think 2 maybe has emotionally more highs than 3. So 2 and 3 are very close. I think there's probably bad episodes in all the seasons. I guess when you have 22 episodes and so many standalone, you're always going to have a few weaker ones. I think that's just the nature of the beast. But I think it's one of the strengths of the show that even with the bad episodes, there's still watchable things in there. You know, you still have the characters being very charming, very funny, and you still have interesting things in, I think, even the weakest of episodes. I think it holds up great. I think it's something which is so rich and just leaves people so much to talk about. And some of the best characters and some of the best humour you'll see on TV, I think. I mean, obviously this first season does date quite bad, but it's sort of quite fun though for nostalgia. And I think, you know, there are signs of what's to come in this first season. For the later seasons, it does have that promise. And there's a few gems in this season.
What I found. It's my yearbook from junior year.
That's fair. I mean, to me, season 1 is the weakest, but it's also very watchable. I mean, a lot of people agree with you, Harrods. They would say one of the later seasons is the weakest in season 1. I mean, a lot of people have nostalgia for the high school years, which is fair enough. And I do too. It's just I also like the growth and the different ideas of the shows in the later seasons. And I do think 1 is the weakest. I think there's 2 or 3 really bad episodes in it. And just, yeah, you know, because of the budget they were working with and the storylines, it was a mid-season replacement, so they didn't really, it hadn't really come into its own in the first season. Nice line from Joyce. Little shaky on the dismount. Sort of line Buffy might use, but I think Joyce is shaky on the dismount quite a lot in the early seasons. Some cute 90s fashion with Willow's jumper there. Thank you. Yeah, this week went up from 49 to 51, so that was a nice surprise. So Xander's given Buffy the bracelet earlier in the episode, and now he's going to try and take the plunge and ask her out.
We can pick this up later. Here, mind you.
Ooh. Uh-oh. That went well. And I think it always impresses me how supportive Willow is of Xander. You know, even though she has these feelings for him, she's really a loyal friend and supports him in his pursuit of Buffy, even though she knows that he doesn't really have a chance with Buffy. But must be one of the hardest things, supporting a best friend that you have feelings for when he's pursuing another gal. And it's one of the great character traits, really, of Willow, just how loyal she is to a fault.
Move forward through the columns with a gentle, even turn to the. Slow down. Slow, perfect.
I agree, Howard. Driver's ed at school. Some unusual things in this show. I mean, do they really have driver's ed as part of school in America? Someone can tell me, someone who lives in the States.
Oh my god, I can't see anything.
Buffy to the rescue.
I can't see anything.
And I think you see an example of the effects there in the budget with Cordelia's white eyes. Just looks weird.
Because they met her? Can you see that?
Nice dig from Willow. Maybe because they met her.
Or likes it too much. Amy.
You guys are leaning towards Amy.
She's desperate to get on that team. And I got this feeling she'd do just about anything to make her mom's dream come true.
Make sure I have this right. This witch is casting horrible and disfiguring spells.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's something I don't really get. I'm not sure what the laws are over there, but
Cheerleading is kind of her mom's last hurrah.
I think they're meant to be about 16 or something like that at the start of the show.
Okay.
I guess it's possible Cordelia is one of the older students. Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure if Cordelia's maybe in a higher year, but I get the impression she's meant to be about the same age.
We don't have a minute. Cheerleaders are in danger.
Hmm.
Buffy's in danger. You look at first off, you are on the team now that Cordelia's out. You could be next.
I love this bit with Xander getting caught, having rented all these books on witches.
Checked out by Alexander Harris. The Pagan Rites. Checked out by.
All right.
Would you like to look at the 7 new engravings?
Oh, I guess it is what you think. I didn't quite finish. It's time to conclusive test. Something.
Somehow Xander just makes those scenes charming. There's a bumbling charm. Again, nice idea. You can rent books about witches in high schools. I really want to go to that high school. But they canon it in quite well, because I think essentially the explanation is the fact that, indeed we do, it's the fact that Giles, as the librarian, as part of his cover, would want such books on campus, you know, because they come in handy with his job as a watcher. So that's quite a clever little touch. And it's the first appearance of Mr. Gregory, who becomes Buffy's favourite teacher.
Which is the hydrochloric
So that's quite a nice little setup for what's coming in the next episode. I like that continuity, because sometimes in the early seasons particularly, you get these characters who drop by for one episode and you get the impression they know the Scoobies, that they're friends with them or they know them, and that you've never seen them before and you don't see them again. So it's quite nice they've set up Mr. Gregory there and he returns in the next episode. And I sort of thought they might do that with Amy. I mean, obviously she does come back in a couple of seasons, and I think she's a good character overall. Good performance, I think, by the actress, but yeah, maybe they could have used her a bit more on and off.
Oh my God. Did you see? Anyone's freaked out as the rest of us.
So it's not her. The test was positive. She's our Sabrina. I just don't think she realizes what she's doing.
Ah, Sabrina, nicely done, Buffy. The sinister looking gate to Amy's house, which is another shot they used for the credits.
Another productive day on TV. I got a history report due tomorrow. What is? I should be on that team by now. Instead, Miss Buffy and friends are sneaking around stealing bits of my hair. Yes.
She did. I've always said I think that Cordelia from the beginning was way smarter than the character suggested. But in a way she's playing a role which she's expected to as the popular girl. So that's a clever little touch, I think, and she really progresses from there. Sarah Michelle Gellar letting it rip with the macho man, and the bouncy hair, having a good time. I guess she doesn't get to do comedy as much as some of the other characters, so I think she really lets it rip when she gets a chance.
Mom, you just don't get it. And believe me if you don't want it. You know, there are just some things about being a vampire slayer you'll never understand. It's a long story. What? Oh, I'm fine, you know? What, I kept in a good mood? Like a new house full of fun, you know? That's just fine. I'm a macho man. A macho man. Macho man.
Such a good scene. This episode is worth it just for that scene alone. And Buffy high on something due to the spell.
Is it me or something that moved?
You better get her out of there.
Yeah, before she hurt someone.
I do that. You are so out of here. It's not her fault.
She's on medication.
Well, obviously not enough. Who's our next alternate? Oh, Amy, you just made cheerleader. No. You don't want her. She don't want her.
No wise choice of people.
She's a good Buffy. I just thought you got the team, didn't
I
I?
don't think it was your fault.
I know you know that because you're my friend. You're my finger-shaped friend. You have any idea why I love you so dearly?
You don't even have a choice.
I'll tell you. You're not like other boys at all.
Well,
You are totally and completely one of the girls. I'm that comfy with him.
that's great.
Any other guy
Yeah,
bracelet
it's a spell.
want to take me and be like, oh, I don't feel so good. Buffy? We've got to get her to a hospital.
Yeah,
This is a blood emergency now.
and I think Willow enjoyed that moment with Buffy's girl comment to Xander.
Vengeance felt like she's trying to get Buffy.
She knows I know she's a witch.
She just went down the road. She intends to.
How much time do we have?
Oh, sure.
Truth. Please.
Couple hours. How do we reverse the spell? Well, I've been searching it, and we can reverse all the spells if we can just lay our hands on any spell book.
And if we can't get a hold of it?
The other way is to cut the witch's head off. Show of hands.
It's not Amy's fault. She only became a witch to survive her mother.
I don't care why I just kept going.
Sounds why would she be casting these spells?
No, she needs a sacred space. And
The body swap twist is nicely done in this episode. Something I wouldn't have guessed. And again, I like these early episodes where it's done as a detective mystery type plot. So at this point, they assume Amy is the witch of the family, and she's sort of doing it to escape her mother. So they're quite sympathetic in her motivations, but yeah, they don't actually realise about the body swap side of it, and that it's actually her mother instigating this whole thing.
is there something wrong?
And a nice performance by Amy's mother, the actress, who of course a one shot, but very icy, very effective.
She's gonna be home soon, and you.
This girl is very sick, and you will shut up and you will listen to me. Your daughter has access to the party matches. How come your obsession with cheerleading?
I don't care about cheerleading. It's not my fault she's doing stuff.
As her mother, you should assume some responsibility for her actions.
You always get to that. She's out of her mind. Ever since her dad left, I can't control her.
I'm afraid of that.
Are you Amy?
I don't think so.
She's switched. She switched your eyes, and she.
Ah, you see the title, Witch Switched. Very clever.
She said I was wasting the moon. So she took it. I didn't know anything about her habits. When my dad was here, they would fight her, yell at her, call her a witch. And I just started out. Oh God, when he left, I wanted to go with her. But she would make another call. She went crazy and she would lock herself upstairs with her teens, and she was always coming down on me and telling me I didn't deserve to have it so easy, and I didn't know how hard it was to be her. I guess she showed me, huh? It's gonna be okay.
I guess also this is the first example in the show of Buffy showing her intuition in a way, the fact that she figured out what had happened with the body swap with Amy and her mother. Giles didn't cotton on to it, so it's the first example really of Buffy's instincts, and that she does have this sort of intelligence that you maybe wouldn't figure someone of her age might have. So it's one of her great strengths as Slayer, really reading things outside the box, not just looking for the obvious answers. And I think that's a big part of how things develop with her and Giles. I think the fact that he very much at the start plays things by the book and is very traditional. But over the course of the show, I think she teaches him to actually think things in different ways, think outside of the box. But I think this is the first example we see of Buffy actually having that instinct. And I think, like most great coming of age dramas on TV or film, it's impressive. We see the children, or not the children, but the teens in this case, actually having the smarts, actually being more forward thinking than the adults. Fun jump scare a moment ago with the cat. And we're back to the generic 90s cheerleading music. Least favourite main? What do you mean by that?
Century's dark. Centrum est obscurus. Darkness breathes. The listener hears.
Probably Riley, if you're just talking about people who, for a period, joining the main cast. I think most of the main characters I really like. Some more than others. Oh, this spell scene with Giles is so gold. He really gets into it. He did. And there are good points to Riley. He wasn't a totally bad character. But of course I'll get into him in future reviews. Just love this scene with them collapsing and Amy just disorientated, just scrambles out of there. It's a really effective scene.
Well, wait, I need to talk to you. I can help you. Well, you know, all your witchcraft. I know this really good cauldron. Do you actually ride a broom? Xander!
And again, some of the limited season 1 budgets in there with the scene with Xander. Here we go. Giles and his spell just dives his hands into the bubbling water, the chemicals, and he just hams it up brilliantly. This is just so cheesy, but fun. Amy with the axe, or trying to do her slasher impersonation. Release!
Buffy? Amy?
Tough to say. I'd say either window. I'd say either Willow or Xander. Out of those two, I'd say probably. Difficult though. Probably at times Dawn a little bit, just to do with my own experiences as being a younger sibling. But I think mostly I'd say Willow and Xander.
I shall look upon my enemy. I shall look upon her, and the dark place will have her soul. Caution, take her!
Okay, that's fair enough. Actually, nice little effect there. That effect worked quite well. And first time we see the black eyes from Amy's mother, which we see in future seasons with Willow and with Amy. It's a nice introduction, nice scene there.
I'm fine.
Assume they what's going to reverse. First casting. And then go rolling.
You saved my life. You were a god. But I didn't think you'd pull it off.
Let's cut her head off!
Yeah, what are you doing?
Saving you?
Get your hands off of her.
But she's evil. It wasn't exactly her.
I was running.
Oh.
Where is she?
It's cool.
Miss?
Yeah, I took it.
Willow and the baseball bat, and Xander trying to keep his masculinity intact.
I said it. But I did a lot of thinking about where you're coming from, how to relate to you. Come to a very simple conclusion. I don't get it. You're screwed, huh? You're 16. I think there's a biological imperative where I can't understand you because I'm not 16. Do you ever wish you could be 16 again? Oh, that's a revolution. Go through all that again? Not even if it helped me understand you. Love you. My dad is so awesome. He doesn't know how to go anywhere. He wants to spend total on it and try to. And I'm like, Dad, I can go out. He's perfectly safe. But he's got all this guilt about losing my mom. And he's being a total dear loving you. Every single night. This Saturday night, he wants to stay in and make brownies. Well, the brownies were my idea. Hey, I'm really sorry you guys got run back to Ultra. Hold it. Wait. No, I'm not. Well, I know that Alan is the intellectual thrill of spelling out words in their arms. Ooh, these words are sour. Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot that you wanted to be on a squad. Oh, hey, that's okay. Truly, I'm just a little too hairy for me these days. That's for sure.
Pretty sure one of the extras in the background
And there's been
sort of goofed up there when she almost ran into another extra, which is pretty funny. If not, and it was part of the acting, that's nicely done, I have to say. And the shot of the statue closes the episode. Must be torture being stuck in the statue for all of eternity. But I do like the fact then Amy's mum, she gets her up and sorry, but at the same time it's sort of left open where she could return at another point. But yeah, bit of mystery to it. Nice little twist at the end. And a pretty solid episode, considering where we are at this point in the show. Has its problems, but overall it's not too bad. So that's Buffy Season 1, Episode 3, The Witch. And I'll be signing off in a few moments. Thank you for watching. You can, and tuning in, chatting along. You can expect more Buffy reviews in the future. Hopefully we'll have the next episode reviewed up. Might do a live stream with it, or it might just be a video. Play it by ear, see what happens. For those who followed my radio show this past week, I did a special show for my 100th episode, and that was me and a guest, Ray Turner. We each did our top 10 movies of the 21st century to mark the 100th episode. And it was a really good show, actually. Got a couple of other people who contacted with lists, so that went well. And we both had completely different lists and diverse lists, so it was good. And yeah, it was a fun show. I hope people who listened enjoyed it. It was a good thing to do for the 100th show. And this coming Thursday, we have another show. In fact, just to say, that show was being filmed, so at some point you should be able to see it on YouTube somewhere if you follow either me or Ray. So keep your eyes peeled for that. And coming up this Thursday, there's another special show where Ray has decided to talk about Blade Runner and Heaven's Gate. Two films that only had their sort of complete cuts in the 21st century, and two films with sort of sticky production history and kind of cult films that have been sort of revived and over time grew in reputation, but two very different films. But that'll be what we're doing on Thursday. Ray will be discussing them, and I'll be chipping in with my thoughts and asking him some questions. And that's going to be the last show for a while as I take a bit of a summer break. But you can listen to that show this Thursday at 8 o'clock in the evening on Beyond Radio. You can listen online, beyondradio.co.uk, listen live if you want. And we'll be doing that. And also to say there's a catch-up service. So if you missed last Thursday's show, the special 100th show, you can catch up with that online. If you go to the Beyond Radio website, there's an app. So there you have it. Some exciting shows from my radio show. But I'm going to sign off now. Thank you very much, Howard Sky. Thank you to my friend Cookie, who was on earlier, and thanks for whoever checks this video out and likes it. And I'll speak to you guys soon. Good night.